Hi, everyone. Welcome to AOL Build. We're going to be here today chatting with the cast and crew of Anything, which is a really charming drama about a widower from the South who moves to Los Angeles and sort of makes some new friends, I guess you can say. It's got a great cast. Carroll Lynch will be out here. Maura Tierney will be out here. And we'll also be chatting with the director, Timothy McNeil, and producer, Kylene Steele. So let's watch a quick trailer before they come out.
So Lorette told me that your wife died. So did my husband. Stomach cancer.
I'm sorry. Car wreck.
The man is 55 years old.
Yeah, and he's just been through a terrifying trauma. I have to go into the office this morning for a little bit. You can be okay?
Of course.
You don't want to live in Hollywood. Hollywood's not for you.
Hollywood is just far enough from you, and I mean that in the most loving way.
It's me from next door.
Hi. Where are you from? He looks like Andy Griffith's sad brother.
They're just letters from my wife when I was away in college.
How long were you married?
26 years.
I got jumped.
Why?
Why? Because Hollywood is filled with criminals.
How do people hurt each other this way?
You know, you're not supposed to be drinking on your meds.
I'm gonna say good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So you save anyone today, superhero?
Not that I know of.
But you thought about it.
This is a May sky in Los Angeles. I have a friend I want you to come over for dinner Saturday.
Really? Is she a prostitute?
Yes, and she has Ebola, and she's a war criminal. Everybody, this is Frida.
So, Frida, what do you do?
What? What?
I don't understand what we're doing here. This pretending.
Obviously, I am your worst nightmare.
I will do anything to protect him.
But isn't it just love?
You're in your world, aren't you, Early? Going, gone.
I trust you, Early. I'm just scared.
I can do something else with my life, can't I?
I don't know a lot of things, but I know what it means to love someone.
Hey, welcome back to AOL Build, where, as I said, we're here chatting with the cast and crew of Anything. This is Ethan Alter from Yahoo Entertainment, senior writer, and I'm here chatting with writer-director of the film, Timothy McNeil, assistant producer, Kylene Steele, actress Maura Tierney, and actor Carroll Lynch. So as I mentioned, it's definitely the setup of the film is that John, you play a widower who moves not entirely of his own volition to L.A.
As a matter of survival.
Right, exactly. And Maura, you play his sister who sort of convinces him that he should come out and live on the West Coast.
Convince is a very mild word, but yes.
So how would you characterize it if convince is mild? What would you say?
She's, I don't know, bosses the shit
She
out
makes
of
it very clear that's his only choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Emphatically. Well, Tim, as I understand it, this was based on a play that you had originally written. So can you talk a little bit about the genesis of the play and how the film maybe differs a little bit?
The play was coming from an idea that I had about the universality and the soulfulness of love. And the movie differs because I tried to purge all the writerly ideas out of it and make it as succinct and film-like as possible. And those are the differences. And of course, it expands quite a bit from the play, which was situated in one apartment.
Right. Yeah. Can you give us an example of a scene that sort of evolved from the play to the film, like one case study of what you did to sort of in an adaptation?
Yeah, well, there's lots of moments where we see the city of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. We see John taking a trip from the West Side to Hollywood, which is quite a journey on a social level, you know. And then there's also expanded places and venues all around the city. Right. It's nice that way.
Now, once John's character Early moves to Los Angeles, he initially lives with his sister, but then gets his own apartment. And in the process, he befriends Frida, played by Matt Bomer, who is a trans woman. And he sort of, again, gets introduced to a whole new side of life and culture that he's not been exposed to before. So what was, Kayla, coming aboard for you? I mean, when you read the script, what did you feel about Tim's depiction of that character and as a trans woman? Did you feel it captured the voice or the persona?
Well, what really, you have to understand, the film was, well, it was a play. It was like
Right.
2005, I believe. And, you know, culture evolves and society evolves. We had to get the terminologies right. And we had to understand the social reasons why Frida's in this situation. Right. And, you know, we wanted it to be very real and factual and more than just like, this is a person trans and they're in a dress and they're just like anybody else. We want to understand the social role, the problems that are facing them every day. So we had to go back and look at some of the terminology, change it. And I said, you know what? Let's let everybody know why she's doing this and why she's like that and show how defensive she has to be in society. So that was my part coming in there and doing that with Tim.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of discussing how Early and Frida would sort of have their sort of first encounter, how that would play out, what were sort of the discussions about that initial scene between both as an actor, John, and then as a director behind the camera? How did you, because it's so important to sort of establish how they begin.
Well, I mean, he chooses this apartment building in Hollywood, I think, because of the deep abiding sorrow that seems to hang over the place, and it makes sense to him. So his meeting of his next door neighbor comes in stages, actually. Mm-hmm. He first hears her and in a fight with someone, and then is introduced to her. And I don't think... what I love about the way the character evolves in the movie is that he's kind of, whoever he was when he was living in Crane, Mississippi is now long gone, and I don't think he really knows who he is. But I know, but it felt like he was trying to figure that out. So when they first meet, there's a moment of, I think, social misunderstanding, but personal understanding. And that's kind of how the whole thing plays out. I think they're both kind of surprised by each other.
Right, right.
I think there's stereotypes involved in both of these characters that break down over the course of the film.
Right. Yeah. Well, in terms of directing a moment like that, I mean, or the introduction of that relationship and that evolution of friendship, how did you want to depict it playing out? You didn't want to rush it, I'm sure. So how did
not at all. It's the evolution of the story, their relationship that we watch in the film. But I'll say this, that the obvious choices of a person from Mississippi and a trans woman from Los Angeles are not in the script. So what I like about it, or what I wanted to get across, was this idea of a human being who is accepting and loving just generally from his heart and experiences things moment to moment and sees her and wants to help her in the way that he does. She comes over for sugar. He gets her sugar. And that's how it begins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how most relationships that I've had begin. You know, not necessarily in any kind of the barriers that we put up or that society talks about so much don't seem to exist as much on a personal level. And that's one of the ideas in the story, too. Right?
Well, Maura, you sort of have to give voice to some of the ugly side of watching different cultures
I wouldn't call
clash.
it ugly.
I was thinking if there's a big dinner breakout scene or dinner scene where you sort of have to, you have a big emotional moment asking what's going on
Tim
here.
kept saying, cry more, cry more.
Right.
I was like, I'm crying. He was like, just try
It was more
more.
technical than just cry more.
It was. It was
But
much
that was
more
the end
nuanced.
Cry.
I don't know. But I was just thinking when you said Early lives moment to moment, so he's able to just see someone and respond in the moment. My character is absolutely not able to live moment to moment. In the moment. She's 5 steps ahead of the moment all the time. And so instead of being able to experience her family or her brother in the moment of what he's going through, she's 5 steps down the road that it's going to lead to his ruin somehow if she's not in control.
And she's, I would say that the character's history is she's not necessarily wrong about that.
Right.
there are, I mean, that's one of the things I love about the relationship is they're emotionally on top of each other.
Right.
But it's not out of the blue this happened this way. And it's
Right,
not out
that
of the
there's
blue that
probably always
Early may have needed that kind of
a
thing.
caretaker or someone. You're right. But and I also think when you say, what did the word? Did you say ugly?
Ugly, yeah.
I do think the character gives voice to people. There are certain people that I know personally, that I love personally, that get very threatened when things just aren't exactly the way they think they should be. It's somehow taken very personally, and for whatever reason, and they get terrified. And so that is a response, I think, that people have to anything that's not how they think it's supposed to be. And I think that's kind of what she deals with. And she's reasonable though.
Right.
I had a little brother, and he was 3 years younger than me, and he was always watching out for me. I don't know why that was, but I think that relationship, she was always taking care of him.
Right.
Always, not only on a personal level or physical level, but a soulful level as well. She tries, she loves him.
Kylene, I think I heard you mention backstage that sequence, that dinner scene, that is sort of a nightmare for an introduction of a trans person to a friend's relatives. Is that sort of how you feel thinking about that sequence? And can you sort of elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody, everybody has two sides to them, I believe. You know, when we give everybody when we're in a room, and then the person that we are when we go home and lay down in bed and we look up at the ceiling and we're in our subconscious thinking. I think, it takes a moment for anybody who steps in that situation to really just get ready. I mean, even a woman that meets her boyfriend's new family, it's always like, okay, are they going to like me? Am I going to? Yeah, it's very intense. I've experienced that a couple times in my life. And now these days, I kind of get to the point where it's like, it's not how they see me, it's how I see myself and what I bring to the table and who I represent. So, yeah, I totally get her protective side, wanting to protect him. So,
yeah.
Where are you from?
Louisiana. I
wish we worked more together. I should have sounded like you. That's what the accent should have been.
You're getting your notes now after the fact.
Exactly. Anyway, sorry.
Can we go back and redub before the movie comes out, maybe? Well, Matt Bomer isn't here today, but obviously before the film, while the film was shooting, there was some controversy about casting him in the role as opposed to a trans performer. Was that, looking back on it now, would you have made a different choice if you were casting it today? Are you happy with that?
First of all, Matt is tremendous in the film. I love his dedication. He's a remarkable actor, and I would never recast him in this film. Right. I would, if I had to do it again and they asked me to cast it, I would cast it the same way. I don't know if he would do it again, because it's a lot of work, but I've never seen a more dedicated actor, Right. The controversy, as far as it goes, as far as we're concerned, or at least me, is I'm happy that the film drew the controversy in a way, because what better movie to talk about those issues with than this film. I just hope people will see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I was very lucky with all my actors. I have the most amazing cast. But Matt has taken a lot of criticism for it, and I think if you see his work and his dedication, give it a chance. Do you know what I mean? It's beautiful.
absolutely agree. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realized how much he sacrificed for this role. I mean, he went on a special diet. I took him to get his nails done. We worked on total script from top to bottom. I mean, he really put his heart into this project. And, you know, I was there on set the whole time while we were filming, and I was like, you know, when this scene happens, I want you to really dig deep, and I want you to really think about your own personal life and when you were dealing with, you know, everybody knows he's openly out. Right. I said, I want you to think about being back in Houston and about you being young, and if that came to light, how you would feel, because Frida is pretty much a walking target in society today. She is everyone that has been persecuted against throughout history. She is, and she's still facing this today. So I told him, I said, I want you to really embrace that and think about it. And I think his work was phenomenal as Frida. I think the one thing you need to work on was those heels, walking in heels. You needed help with that.
The opportunity to work with Matt was part of what was so attractive to me. Matt's an amazing actor, and I only echo that his commitment to it was was 100%, and he was so vulnerable and so fierce as Frida. And we rehearsed for about, I think, 2-3 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then he went away and came back, and she appeared. Right. That's how it worked for me. And when Frida was on set, she was fully realized from the time she left the makeup chair to the time that she got back into the makeup chair, and that kind of commitment to character is what actors dream about working. One dreams about working with actors who are that fully committed, and it's interesting too, because I don't want. I hope going forward, I don't want a world where my fellow trans actors are relegated to trans roles anymore. I want to see a trans Juliet and a trans Romeo. I don't want to live a world where we ghettoize anybody.
Right.
It's of no interest to me, and it's kind of what the movie's about, which is on a person-to-person level. Love is love, and it doesn't. And we find each other almost regardless of our bodies.
Thank you.
Yeah, very beautifully said. Well, speaking to the attempts to sort of increase diversity behind the camera and in front of the camera in Hollywood right now, do you in your careers, are you hoping to take advantage of things like inclusion writers? Are you going to, wherever you have that ability to open up diversity, do you hope to do that, whether it's behind the camera or as cast members as well?
Absolutely. Call me. I'm ready. I mean, I think it's very important. You know, humans are humans, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, black, white, Asian. I mean, nature allows for so many diversions. I mean, what is not diversions?
Diversity.
Diversity. Exactly. Thank you. Sorry, the lights got to me. Diversity. It's just as human beings, we have social rule and religion that steps in and messes that up in our social thinking. And then we come back later on in life and we're like, what were we thinking at that time? And we can look back on history and let's go, God, we should have done that. We should have done this. We should have been that. So I think it's, you know, we need to take that wall down and include everybody now, because it's about being human, not being a gender or a certain race or gender.
There's an opportunity we have right now to transform who tells stories, and that's really important, I think, because while the filmmakers and writers that have dominated the first 100 years of films have been primarily white and primarily male, perhaps we've heard enough, and maybe we should hear from somebody else for a while.
Wow, you're like killing it today. Obviously.
I'm rocking.
You are rocking it. Yeah, and
there we go. That's it.
Yeah, no, I mean these people are. Everyone's so much more eloquent. But yeah, I think there's also one part of that I would speak to is that generationally, I think what's happening is very exciting, because I'm of a certain age and came up accepting a certain status quo. Like, I've been in television for a long time, and there was only men directors, and there were only men showrunners of most of the TV I did, and now I have a female showrunner, and now we have and it's just about what you can envision, what the power your speech might have, as opposed to accepting what the status quo is. And I feel like the younger generation is more aware and more alive and vocal about possibility.
And yet sometimes I don't think that people realize how quickly we're moving, because when I was born, this was before I started working in the film industry, but when I was born, there was a person who was on the call sheet called script girl.
Wow, yeah, right.
Wow.
And now it's script supervisor. Right. And it should have been script supervisor the entire time.
Right.
There's also best boy, by the way. There's still best boys, and I'm looking forward to that change as well.
Yes.
The best boy is the lighting designer, the gaffer's person who they rely on most, and they're called, well, I'll get my best boy. That's disturbing,
right.
And maybe we should stop doing that. But it takes a while for these things to go, hey, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to transform your head. Right. And like you said, it was almost inconceivable that it could be different.
Just the opening up of the possibility of that is important, and it's hard to do if you only know things one way.
And it's also funny when somebody, like, a change happens and everybody goes, Yeah, that's right. Why were we doing it that way?
Right.
That seems ridiculous.
You know what I think is important is that the stories that are being told are from a different perspective, and those kind of stories are going to be the revolution itself. And they will make the change, and I think that's the important idea. There's so many stories in the world, and they've been relegated to being told by people like me. So it's going to change a lot, and it'll be beautiful.
And I think I speak for Tim and I to say we don't want to shut up.
Right.
We do have things to say.
Right.
We'd like to be in a chorus of people, not just dominant.
Not the lead soprano or whatever anymore, right? Well, Maura, speaking of to your TV career, I loved news radio back in the day, and I was realizing that this year's I think we're a week away from the 20th anniversary of the Titanic episode. It was one of my favorites episodes. Yeah, that aired I think next week.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, do you have any memories of shooting that episode?
Oh my God, yeah, we just had so much fun. I mean, I don't, that show, but which by the way was all dudes.
Yep.
From Harvard. Right. All mostly under 30, so we had a really good time. Genuinely, I'm saying that. Everybody was like under 30 except Phil. Yeah, I don't know if I can think of a specific anecdote. I mean, it's just once a year we would do these like crazy episodes we did one called News Radio in Space. One was the Titanic episode. We would pick one episode at the end of the year to just do something that like jumped the time-space continuum, and they were really fun.
With all the reboots going on these days, Will and Grace and Roseanne, et cetera, would you, if they got the gang back together, obviously minus Phil Hartman these days, but would you want to come back for a special news radio revival?
I can't imagine anybody wanting to see that.
I do.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah,
I'll be the one person.
Yeah. Maybe, but we were more like a
That's an audience one.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'll pay for it. Well, also, it's been funny to see, I think the story of the summer has been sort of ER being on Hulu and everyone rediscovering that. I mean, that seems to be like the new binge show after it went off the air. Is that funny to you that sort of found this like life now?
I wasn't sort of aware of that until it was happening. So it doesn't feel that different for me because most people know me from that show because I was on it for such a long time. So I haven't. I mean, I think it's a really good show. Another show that we had a really good time on. So it's nice that people can see it now. It's good.
If people seeing it for the first time can discover it and sort of be like, and probably ask you questions about episodes that you shot so long ago.
Yeah, and especially even before I got on it. I mean,
Right.
I didn't get on until season 7, and in the beginning, like it was groundbreaking television. It actually premiered the same year as News Radio, and they were, it was a really radical way to shoot a show. So I loved it before I was on it.
John, you definitely, as a character actor in Hollywood, have graduated to that. It's that guy status. I think like we see you now, and everyone says, "Oh, it's that guy," and so you're still in that place.
Accurate.
But when you see, like for example, in the trailer here, where your name is billed prominently as the first lead, is that fun for you to see, to sort of take advantage, be in this position of carrying a movie?
It's nice to try to carry a movie. It creates a lot of complications that one can't know until one's doing it. It doesn't. The work doesn't change. Just the amount of work changes. And it was interesting because I was in the middle of prepping the movie I was about to direct when we did this movie, and then I went on and prepped that movie and shot it. So it was very helpful to me in my directing of Harry Dean Stanton in Lucky to understand what 18-day movies feel like when you're shooting them as the lead and you're in almost every scene. So it was very helpful in that way to understand that orientation is really key. Like there's a lot of days on this movie where I just have to turn to Tim and go, okay, Tim, which moment getting out of bed is this exactly? Like where in the movie is this? Because I've lost. We've done our entire day in this room because we only have the one day of this room. So where exactly in the movie is this? And it was really helpful later on when Harry turned to me and go, "Where are we in this movie?" Because we've been here. Geographically and chronologically, it was difficult. Anyway, that being said, I was very excited, of course, to play the lead. It was fun. And it was a challenge, but it was particularly fun because this says something that I felt was important.
Right, absolutely. Great. Well, I think we have some questions from the audience, so let's turn it over to them.
Hi. I was wondering how the film has kind of evolved between when it was filmed and the post-production editing process, and what are some of the changes that you guys made there?
Yeah. So, well, the post was exciting for me because I come from the theater, so it was amazing. So I think the first cut was 2 hours and 25 minutes, and the final cut is 1 hour 30, and throughout that process was willowing down into the story and the specificity of the story. You know, that's what editing is to clear away the fat, and that's a lot what was happening. And then the sound and music editing and all that, those ideas, those were thrown into the mix, and the movie was there, and it was an amazing thing to just sit there and try and find it through all the footage that we had, and that's really the process. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. That's what it was.
Hi, we're going to take our last question from an online viewer. Shelby wants to know, what made you all want to be a part of this project?
I loved a movie that said, I loved that the script said that love is love and you can recognize it when you see it.
Yeah, I thought the writing was so beautiful and so cynical. Yeah, it's very moving to me.
I have to say what they just said exactly. I mean, I think that if you look in the poster, there's a flower, and a flower has both sexual organs. And I think that is, we give them to people for all kind of reasons, like they get sick, they're hurt. It's a way to care, show you care, but we never judge them either. So I wanted to make that representation to show people that, we are better than what we perceive people to be. We do something every day that we don't even acknowledge that is already diverse. So I liked the fact that I could help and bring the truth and some authenticity to the whole role into the film.
I wrote it. I had to be involved. I couldn't stay away.
And what's your favorite piece of direction? Now, cry harder, I think.
No, I'm so sorry. It was much more subtle than that. I was trying to be funny.
Yeah, but it's basically
it was fun.
As Sister Marie Barry said to me, sarcasm is the lowest form of humor.
Well, George Lucas has faster, more intense, and you
Bringing
cry
up the
harder.
nuns
So
as a
I think that
defense.
works. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us today on AO Build. Anywhere?
Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything will be in theaters May 11th in New York and LA, and then going to general release on May 18th. So make sure to seek it out. Thanks again.